one of our thrivers, Dr. Andrea, is going to share her story, and perhaps you will recognize yourself in her story and her discoveries, and perhaps your system will get more of the sense of possibility, ever expanding sense of possibility and permission and safety and celebration. So let's welcome Dr. Andrea to the spotlight.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Andrea.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Where do I begin? So I kind of like to say my story is a whole long series of being broken, but like not broken enough to deserve any recognition. But I was fully functional, so therefore like my brokenness didn't, like, no one would listen to my, hey, I'm having a really hard time here, or like this is a huge struggle, or this doesn't feel right, but it was like there's a lot of gaslighting by like the medical community. I struggled with I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid. I had chronic pain issues, and I had some really bad concussions, and basically it was like nothing was bad enough, even though I felt horrible at all times. I struggled with depression and anxiety and just did not feel okay in my body. Just like waking up, basically just like dreading every single day and just trying to figure out how to get through it. And I did a ton of work and had tons of coaches, invested a lot in our work, like really dove deep, starting in like I went to college and then physical therapy school. And so there was just a lot of things that I realized like I just had to figure it out for myself because no one was going to help me. And it's like I made lots of improvements, but I just still found myself like cycling on the same issues over and over. It's like just when I think I'd make a breakthrough or like have something, it's like it would just come back. And it just felt like here I am, like not feeling good enough, not feeling confident, like huge imposter syndrome. Like at this point, it's like I have my doctorate in physical therapy. That didn't feel enough. So it's like, okay, now I got to become a nutritional therapist. And it's like, okay, that's not enough. Okay, now I got to be a certified life coach. Okay, that's not enough. Let me like learn about how to do energy work for myself and my clients. Okay, that's not enough. And then I came across this work. And I was like, oh. And I could relate to Dr. Valerie's story a lot, clearly, of just like trying to get more certifications, because it just always felt like, okay, well, I just need to do this one thing. Let me just do this thing, and that's going to solve everything, both for myself and my clients, because I work with chronic pain. And it never did, clearly. And so I was introduced to this work, and I'll be honest, when I like initially saw the title of the book, I was just like, like, and so I kind of shelved it for a while. I was like, no, this is not, this is just ridiculous. And yes, anyways, I just kept hearing about it. And finally I joined TTE like this weekend back in, when was it? August, I think, of last year. And it was, and I hadn't even finished reading the book or anything like that. And it was just like absolutely mind blowing. I kind of went into the weekend like, I kind of know most of this stuff, but it'll be good to hear a refresher. And I was like, holy shit, no, I did not know this stuff. And one of like the huge pivotal moments was I actually got chosen to do like the love seat, and Jeffrey basically telling me like, this isn't yours. Like, this is ancestral. And it was huge. And it wasn't even, what was so big about it is that I had explored the ancestral piece some, and I had some energy work done around it, but I never noticed any difference. But for whatever reason, like the way that it is approached in this program, it's completely different. And it has, oh my gosh, just opened up so much for me. I was like being able to clear those things that are not mine, that I have been carrying for, since the day I was born, like have just completely been life-changing. I when I joined this, so in like August, I had moved across the country, and we had moved from Washington to Kentucky in the middle of pandemic. We were living with my in-laws at the time. My husband and I didn't have any jobs. Like my husband started working on like doing his stuff online. I was sort of had like a really half-ass online business that I kept meaning to, grow, but I never could because I had all these like imposter syndromes and PGs, which I didn't know they were PGs. I just thought I wasn't good enough coming up. So it's like I had intended to grow it before we moved, but I never did. So it was like, here we are, like no house, no jobs. And I'm seeing this program. So it was like, in all, essences, like the worst time to sign up for something like this. And I actually, I'm sure Dr. Valerie and Jeffrey can tell you, like, I was actually like delayed, and it's like, okay, I do want to do this, but like, I literally cannot right now, because at this point, by the time like it was time to sign up and stuff, like we were actually did find a house and signing on a house. And I was like, I literally cannot make a payment because we like won't get this house. And it was like, I had no idea how we were going to pay the mortgage and do this. So it was like, my house is on the line and I have a son, and my husband sort of was making a little bit of money, but not much. And so it was probably the biggest leap of faith I've ever made in my entire life. And it has opened up just so much for me. It's like I wake up and I think that one of the biggest, most obvious differences is like just so much less overwhelm and like emotional struggle in my brain. It's just like there's voices that used to be there all the time that I didn't even know were there, that just like aren't there. And it's like this clarity that I didn't even know was possible. Like, I think that's so hard to explain, is like, it's hard to see what is possible because it feels so attached and part of you. And there's just instances that'll pop, like there's actually a few things this week where I get really like, or I used to really shut down. If like more than one person asks me for something, I just feel like, oh my God, nobody asked me anything. I just need to go freeze and cry in my room and like, shut up, I can't do it. And this week, actually, I got like, I also work part-time at a clinic now. And so it's like, my boss asked me for something extra. Like I got like 3 emails asking me for something. And like, I got whatever. It's just a bunch of requests, like more than normal. And normally that would have like, put me in the biggest freeze response. And I was like, do. And it was like aftermath of like, holy shit, I just like handled that fine. Like, amazing. Yes. And one of the huge things was really like building up my business so I could like, pay my bills and my mortgage. And my business has made more money in the past 3 months than I've made in the past 6 years of trying to run it.
Woo-hoo!
Like, so, and that was going into this program. If you told me I was going to be one of these people sitting here giving one of these testimonials about business doing well, I would have been like, no, that's really not. Like, I went into the program being like, okay, yes, obviously I need to make enough money to cover the expenses, but like, it really wasn't the reason I went into this program. It was like, I just want to like be happy living my life. Like, that's why I joined. If I can come out like waking up happier and being happier in my day, like, I don't really care about the money piece as long as I don't get kicked out of my house. But here I am, like, yes, now I am like, my business is booming and I can actually like, have abundance here. And I would have never, ever like believed that even just back in September when I signed up. So it's been
Andrea, really, really celebrating the journey that you've been on. And it was quite a leap of faith, joining a year-long program, the Thriving Circle, at this huge transition time. And oftentimes transition times are the most potent times. They're scary because there's all this uncertainty, but the status quo is already disrupted. So might as well, you've done the demolition, might as well do the build and get some support doing that. And yeah, I just remember when we were having this conversation after TTE, and you were like, oh, like your whole system was like, Um, yeah, do you recall how your system was feeling just on the threshold of making that decision? That was not an easy place.
No, not at all. And I think one of the things that made it so challenging is that I'm not someone who in the past has been like afraid of investing in myself. It's that I've invested in myself a lot and never gotten the results out of it.
Ooh.
And so like it was like my hesitation, well, I mean obviously like the investment and the time investment was huge, you know, too, but it was more like, is this just going to be another one of my failed experiments? Like I don't want this to be another, this is the one more thing. And
Yeah.
that was like one of my biggest pieces of like I've identified as like I identified my PG of like just needing one more thing to help myself. But like what if I'm just using this as another just one more thing, right?
Right.
And that was honestly probably one of, I'm not even sure if I shared that out loud. Like that was probably one of my biggest fears of signing up, that it was just going to be another just one more thing that doesn't pan out to be anything. That like,
Yeah.
oh yes, I promise I'm going to pay this back and this is going to, you know, have these results, and it just doesn't. But it did. So far, I'm not even through the whole thing.
What allowed you to take that leap of faith? I'm so curious, Andrea. Obviously, that was a big one, having had the experience of investing in yourself and not seeing the results. That was a huge leap of faith.
Yeah. Honestly, my husband was a huge supporter in this. I think one, the call with you and then the call with Jeffrey, both of them were so helpful in making me feel like this was something different and really helping to show that this was something different. And then it came to the like actual, hey, this is, I like, I'm still part of a family and need to like make sure everyone's on board here. And like I think my husband just really helped like recognizing and seeing in me that like I wasn't happy, and like being willing to support me through the process was huge. I don't think that's like required because I know not everyone has that piece, but like for me that was like, I think the fact that other people were finally acknowledging that like, okay, like maybe something isn't right here was really what it was. Like, okay, this
So
isn't in my
gorgeous.
head.
Sometimes we need to borrow faith.
Yeah.
We need to borrow that confidence from somebody who has our best interest at heart, somebody we trust,
Mm-hmm.
or our own inner wisdom. If we're feeling that connection, we're hearing that voice. And yeah, I'm loving that. And I'm loving that you said that your intention was not, you were not going for the money. That was not your biggest intention. But the biggest intention was to be happy. And it's so gratifying to know that, yeah, like you start here, you start with like getting happy, and your nervous system settles and shifts, and all of a sudden, boom, you have permission to step into your business and visibility and abundance as well. So money comes in as a side effect. So it's just, yeah, thank you for embodying this possibility for us
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. And I love what you said about that, like borrowing someone else's faith, because I think that's what was so challenging for me is like, I wanted to listen to my authentic wisdom. And I know my authentic wisdom was telling me that, like, absolutely, this is the right step. But like, I really, like, looking back when I was signing up, I feel like it was so hard to hear that voice over all the PGs.
Yeah.
Like it was so hard to hear that. It was like, okay, yes, I feel this is right. And no, here's why this is wrong. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So like, yes, like I so appreciate like the faith that both like you and Jeffrey had, and like that I was like lucky enough to have it from my husband as well, because yeah, it was now my authentic and wisdom, and I can, you know, talk a
Yeah.
lot more and have
Thank
a
you
lot
for
more faith.
being, yeah, thank you for being so real about it. Because I remember how agonizing that leap of faith was for you. How yeah, like it brought up everything. was not it was not an easy decision, and so fun to see you in the spotlight today and every day. I love following your account on Instagram and seeing what beautiful creative work you're putting out there, helping people heal chronic pain, bringing in all your expertise together. That, you know, finally it's not about like, oh, getting one more certification and diploma. Uh,
Mhm. And I just want to add one other piece here because this was so big in your process. I think it'll be valuable. And I know we touched base on this, Andrea, and you said it was okay to share. One of the things that I remember you sharing, which was huge, was realizing what a huge piece that ancestral trauma was playing. And your ancestors, right, had some very distinct, like Holocaust trauma specifically, right? And one of the things I think was so powerful when you were sharing was this realization that sometimes it's not for a number of generations from the original trauma when there's even enough safety in the lineage, in the family system for these things to even come up and be worked through and healed. Right? That, I mean, how is that when I remember when you sort of had that, when that kind of came through, how was that for you when you sort of really clicked into how much of what you were dealing with that was ancestral, like when that really came in and we really understood that frame? How did that?
Oh, that was huge. I think in a lot of like self-help other work that I've done, it is like there's like this connection piece to ancestors, and I felt like I've never been able to do that. And even that, like when I did connect to like anything ancestor wise, like it was full of PGs if I was even able to connect, because it was like, I mean, the amount of trauma that is in both sides of my lineage, I mean, and including my parents themselves, is like massive, as Jeffrey just said. And so, yeah, I think stepping back to that place of like you having to go back to like so far in the lineage to where it was actually like healthy and safe. I feel like my like image that always comes up is like caveman days. Like I'm like, that was, I have to go back that far. So yeah, that was huge.
Andrea, thank you so much for the share, the vulnerability, and thank you for being, as you'll see, like so real and so you. Right? It's just this is so, you know, to all of our thrivers, always appreciating the honesty and the authenticity and just the sharing.
Yeah, and if anyone has like any questions, like please feel free to reach out. Like I love, I'm like an open book. Like ask me whatever. Happy to help.
Thank you so much. This is so generous. Dr. Andrea, thank you for your shine.
Thank you.
Thank you for that inspiration. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Beautiful.